You once said that you wanted to, quote, restore moral clarity and courage to Congress. Why did you fail?
Ilhan Omar makes Republicans lose their minds. Like, clinically. Half the people watching this right now are probably right-wing clippers, ready to turn something from this interview into tonight's Fox News chyron. Guys, you don't have to do this. Find love. Find God. Her very existence causes a constant cascade of media rage cycles and death threats, and that's especially concerning in this moment of heightened political violence. Let's be clear. She's been through a lot worse things in her life. She literally survived a civil war, 4 years in a refugee camp, and by her count, dozens of fistfights with children. So I sat down with her to talk about her scraps, both physical and political, and how she's feeling about her safety in this post-Charlie Kirk political environment. And we also talked about the time that she literally crawled through barbed wire to watch a Bollywood movie, which is so Bollywood.
Hurry right away, no delay, stop today. Make your daddy glad you have had such a last.
Apparently, a nuclear power plant in Western Europe had to shut down because a massive swarm of jellyfish got into its cooling water. I found out about this story from Ground News, which is today's sponsor. Ground News shows a breakdown of publications reporting on a story, which way they tend to lean politically, right, left, or center, and it's not about eliminating bias. We've all got biases. It's just trying to make you aware of the potential biases of different publications so you can consider them as you analyze an event or an issue. For example, when I read the jellyfish story, I was able to scroll between some of the 88 reporting publications. I noticed that most of the left-leaning publications were quick to attribute it to global warming, while some right-leaning publications described it as a, quote, invasion. One even cautioned that, quote, jellyfish can also hitch rides on tanker ships, quote. What are they planning? Use the link in description or go to groundnews.com/Hasan, Hasan, to get 40% off their Vantage plan. The same one that we use here at HMDK. That breaks down to just $5 a month for unlimited access. Visit groundnews.com/Hasan and subscribe today.
Okay, so you have a lot of very interesting anecdotes and personal stories in your memoir.
Mm-hmm.
Your memoir is called This Is What America Looks Like.
Right.
You talk about being a scrapper.
Okay.
You would fight.
Yeah.
I'm talking about full fisticuffs.
Yeah.
What's your record? I'm talking knockouts, TKOs, or hey, let's break it up.
Undefeated, I would say.
Undefeated?
Yeah. But it's been a while.
How many total fights have you been into? So I've been in 3 total fights in my life.
Okay.
And I didn't know I was in 3 of them until I was hit.
Yeah. So I would say like dozens. I was a very like tiny kid.
Yes.
And people would try me.
Okay.
But I hated bullies. And so I was like quick to punch someone if, you know, I thought they were bullying me or bullying someone else.
Our producer was telling me when they did the pre-interview with your team, they said you're also a boxing fan.
Yeah.
Did you watch the Canelo Crawford fight?
I did. It was the first time because like my sons are huge fans. My husband is.
Yeah.
But I was home alone in my apartment in Minneapolis and I watched it by myself and I was texting them and being like, I need somebody to scream with.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
totally.
it got intense really quick. And I didn't expect it to be that intense.
But it was a great fight.
Yeah, and Crawford is a multi-puncher.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think waiting for the right moment was like shocking.
He was super methodical in the fight
Yeah,
too.
that he didn't prepare to fight Crawford because if you knew Crawford's style, you would want to rumble.
Yeah.
And he was just waiting for the perfect shot and Crawford got one on him.
No, it was a surgical fight. It was really, really great. Now, just to be clear, you like and approve regulated violence. Not Waffle House fights. Do I take that?
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
Yes. I don't think people should be fighting
No.
in the street.
Well, no, because this is important.
Okay.
You are a congresswoman with a hijab, so immediately bad faith actors, right-wing clippers, they're going to get after it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I just
Okay.
need to know where you stand on the record.
Okay.
Because you have a hijab and we're having a good time.
Yeah.
This is fodder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For bad faith actors.
Yeah.
These are yes or no questions.
All right.
Are you okay with murder?
No.
Okay, let me take it back again. Just real quick. So this is for our producer and editor. I'm going to ask the Congresswoman, and we need a watermark to make sure that this isn't twisted, AI'd, or manipulated. Here we go. Fastball down the middle.
Okay.
Straight up. Are you okay with murder?
No.
What about politically motivated murder?
Absolutely not.
Is Islam fundamentally incompatible with America?
Absolutely not. Islam's about consensus. It's about hearing people's voices and perspectives, and is definitely about peace and tolerance.
Are you a Qatari spy?
Absolutely not.
The reason why I had to ask you these questions is legitimately there are millions of people that think there is a civilizational level war between Islam and the West. I don't even know what that means.
Right.
But you are a Muslim Somalian refugee congresswoman who was sworn into office on a Quran, and you wear a hijab on the House floor. Here in the United States of America, how many death threats do you get per month?
I think it's too much to count most months. When I came to Congress, I had the record, I think, for like my first year for the highest number of death threats. And we had severe upticks during the Trump's first administration to the point where, only leadership in Congress, the 5 in the Senate and 5 in the House, have full detail, which means they're protected 24 hours a day. And I was the only one given that because the death threats, the assassination plots, there are multiple people who've been incarcerated for threatening to kill me. There's one right now that's waiting for sentencing. So sometimes it does get a little too much.
The reason why I asked that is because in the wake of Charlie Kirk's murder, there are a lot of people on the right, including the president, that blame political violence exclusively on the left. Why do you think the president has made this particular death a lightning rod moment for the party?
Yeah, I mean, the president is someone who couldn't even find the time to provide proper condolences when my dear friend, the former Speaker of the Minnesota House, was assassinated along with her husband in the comfort of her home.
Right.
And so we know that he doesn't really care or feel for the damage that political violence does to a society. And the civil discourse. And so for him, this is about going after people who disagree with him, who he doesn't like, who he doesn't think should be participating in lawfare in our country. But I do think that the president, as it's written in Project 2025, wants to use this moment to go after anybody that politically disagrees with him. Disagrees with him personally, disagrees with his policies, disagrees with the rhetoric, and disagrees with the cult-like environment that he's cultivating that we believe is leading to an authoritarianism. And so we have to be vigilant in protecting people's First Amendment rights. We have to be vigilant in not allowing them to shape this narrative that somehow the left is more violent than the right, when we know that there have been many cases that have been documented since he actually got elected for the first time in 2018, that all the mass shootings that we've had, people who've left the manifestos, have said that they've been inspired by, right-wing pundits and the president himself.
Your district in Minneapolis has seen a lot of high-profile violence.
Yeah.
George Floyd was murdered in 2020. Since 2014, there have been 52 mass shootings, including the recent one at the Annunciation Catholic School. Yeah. And then earlier this year, as you previously mentioned, 2 of your state representatives were assassinated.
One state representative and one senator who was injured but not killed.
Do you feel like we have entered a new violent era of politics in this country? What is your insight on all of this? I mean, these stats are pretty staggering.
Yeah. I mean, I would say we have entered a moment we have been in before. The 60s and the 70s
Right.
were turbulent times as well for us. I think anytime where there is this level of political division, you can expect to see what we are seeing today. And I do hope that elected leaders understand that we are in a moment, and it is up to us to find a way to move this moment towards something more peaceful, more cohesive, and more connected. Because ultimately, the charge that the founding fathers left us with is for us to continue to build a more perfect union, and that is the job that we have.
One of the things that I keep hearing from people, and again, this is just the internet.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going, we're on the verge of civil war, bro. Congresswoman, you lived through a civil war. You talk about it in your memoir. You write, quote, I was 8 years old when civil war broke out in Somalia. One day everything was okay, and the next there were bullets piercing not only buildings, but also people. How close are we to something like that? Because I saw that quote and I felt eerie in this moment.
I mean, the thing about a civil war is that when you're 8, it feels like one day everything is fine.
Okay.
And the next day all hell breaks loose. That when you're an adult, my father and grandfather and aunties and uncles and my older siblings, they could see years ahead that something was fundamentally breaking.
Oh, did they tell you years later that they could see it coming?
Yes, and I could see that in the discussions when things did break. Obviously they remained optimistic that things will get better.
Right.
And what they thought might happen, hopefully
And the Civil War broke
happen.
out in 91, correct?
The Civil War happened, at the end of 1990.
And I take it when you talk to family members, uncles, aunts, grandparents, they could have sensed that coming from the mid-'80s?
Yeah, because there was a divide between conservatism, liberalism, right? There was a divide on what the role for people in society could be. It was the tail end of a dictatorship, and people could feel the severe crackdowns and the limitations of their liberties, and then also people deciding that they were going to push back, that they've had enough.
Yeah.
I do not hold the belief that our country is on the verge of a civil war. I do believe that we have institutions that are strong. But I also think that the will of the American people will ultimately prevail, in that I don't think we want to see that kind of violence. I don't think we want to see ourselves become the countries we've tried to help over the years. And so I think that there is enough of us that don't want a civil war that we might be able to avoid it.
From the moment that you entered Congress, you have been a vocal critic of ICE. And you've been a vocal advocate for immigrants and refugees, and you've been consistent that ICE should be abolished. As we have this conversation right now, and when this episode releases in a few days, ICE is more powerful than ever now.
Yeah.
So where do you see this heading, and what can be done to stop this? Because it seems like the people in power, and perhaps the country at large, is okay with this.
Yeah. But I think the strengthening of ICE and the way in which their mandate right now is being carried out is literally terrorizing neighborhoods. And it is creating a military state where your normal civil rights and civil liberties in this country are no longer protected. Regardless of what your legal status might be in this country, you have a right to due process. You have a right to know what you're being accused of and being arrested for.
Right.
And you certainly have a right to only abide by warrants that are signed by a judge.
Yes.
And so what we are seeing right now with the way ICE is conducting themselves, not only are they violating the constitutional rights of people who are citizens, because they've picked up citizens, but they're also violating the rights of people who are not citizens in this country, who have different levels of status, or some that are without status. And I think that is dangerous. And my hope is that when we get back into the majority, that we are able to slow down the kind of damage that ICE is causing in our communities. because again, it is a for-profit machine. The detention centers are oftentimes private. It makes money for people. That's why you have the long holds. That's why we have bills like the Riley Act, right? You can hold somebody indefinitely. So that's, the owners of these detention centers that are going to make money out of that. But it's also ICE is an agency that is not accountable. There's so many times where, we reach out and want to have a conversation and check out the detention centers, which we are obligated to do as members of Congress. They say no, and there is no repercussions for the fact that they are stopping us from carrying out our oversight duties.
So just so I understand this correctly, they don't have to work exactly in alignment with the police department or law enforcement. They're kind of like their own thing.
Yeah.
Is it kind of like the movies where they can pull out their badge and they're like, this isn't your jurisdiction. This is my, like, they get to do that kind of the way the CIA and FBI do. Again, I'm referring to movies, which are not accurate. But I'm asking, is it like that?
Yeah, I mean, certainly. We are seeing in places where, they're going into courtrooms and making arrests with people who are doing the right thing, who are showing up to their hearings, making their case for asylum, and doing the regular check-ins that the immigration judges require them to do. And so like that level of rogueness, I think erodes any trust that people might have when it comes to law enforcement and the fact that they're supposed to not only protect and serve, but they are supposed to be the upholders of the Constitution.
Is ICE too entrenched to even be abolished at this point?
I mean, nothing is too entrenched to be abolished. Okay. We just need the will of the people and the will of Congress.
Fundamentally, what is it about refugees and asylum seekers that causes this existential debate? I think in both the United States of America and in Europe, this refugee and asylum seeker debate is white hot.
Yeah. I mean, oftentimes when you see rampant xenophobia, it is tied to economic hardships. There's obviously the bigotry and the othering and all of that. But oftentimes it is politicians pointing to a group and saying, this is the reason why you can't have the resources that you need. This is the reason why you can't achieve the American dream because, immigrants are taking your jobs. Immigrants are the ones that are getting a priority in home ownership. They're the ones who are getting a priority in small business loans, which oftentimes does not fit into the reality. Most immigrants, when they come, they're working 2-3 jobs, pulling their savings together, and it's the uncles that open up that corner store together, or the
families pooling resources,
the
together,
hotel, and all of these things, because in a new environment, to build community is essential to survival.
Right.
And that is often why you see clusters of new immigrants. But what is baffling to me is that here in the United States, for as much as we've been a country that is seen as like an immigrant country, that we are still having this debate and having it in the most vigorous way. But I do think that that majority of the conversation is driven by white supremacists who believe in the replacement theory and who think that by allowing immigrants in this country that their supposed white nation is going to end, which in reality, this country, when it was founded, had Native American people. And we did cross into the border of Mexico, so you got brown people. And we did participate in the in slavery, and so we did bring Black people into this country. And so the idea that this is a white nation that needs to be preserved is a fascinatingly disgusting view, because this country is one for the many.
Well, fundamentally, what do white supremacists want? They want everyone to have their own country. Mm-hmm. What is their ask? If there even is an ask.
Their ask is that there to be a respect for their supremacy in regards to races.
Well, the way I've seen it framed is immigrants and refugees don't want to accept our values. Uh-huh. But let me tell you something. when I've been around immigrants and refugees, there is nothing they love more than values and name brands.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at a Moroccan immigrant, he loves a Balenciaga t-shirt.
Yeah.
Big bold letters.
That sounds like
uncle-
that sounds like assimilation.
Yeah, an uncle from Tunisia,
Yeah.
Tommy Hilfiger, red, white, blue. Egyptian cab driver, Polo.
Yeah.
Ralph Lauren, teddy bear, US. Literally polo, the whitest sport you could play.
Yeah.
There is nothing they love more than assimilating.
Yeah.
And the biggest font possible.
Yeah.
The opposite of Succession. This is not
Yeah.
quiet luxury. They want to be very loud.
They do want
I'm
to be
all
very
in.
loud. Yeah,
I
I'm all in. I'm
accepted
here.
the
I
iTunes
accept it, yeah.
user
And that
agreement.
is kind of what that is the hope, right? That once you like, nobody wants to leave there or happy about leaving the place where they were born.
Yeah.
Whether it is you leaving your small town to go to the big city or you leaving your country to go to another country. That is a devastating thing to do.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want to do in that new environment is to do everything to not be accepted. All you want is to be accepted. You want to be a normal person that is carrying on their life and building friendships and connection to whatever community you find, and that is the story of many immigrants. But in this country, like I said, we constantly struggle. We had problems with Italian immigrants. We had problems with Irish immigrants. We had problems with German immigrants. Chinese, whatever, like new American that has come over the decades. Like there's always been a problem. There's always been an othering, and I find comfort in that. Like
You find comfort in that?
I do find comfort in that
there's been
because
consistent hatred across the board. So
yes, and it eventually disappears because that is the American thing.
According to the UN, in April of this year, there were 42.7 million refugees worldwide. That is double of what it was a decade ago. So this is not going away. And what we were chatting about off camera and what we wanted to ask you is, well, how do you assuage this? This is not going away. People will move due to political instability, because they are asylum seekers and because they are refugees. What can this nation do to ameliorate this kind of tug of war that continues to happen culturally about people who come from different cultures?
One thing I think people forget is that, or maybe they don't know, is that we have the highest number of migration since history has recorded migration. And so, yes, your country is bound to have people who are coming from another country, right? It is not just the political instability, because the world seems a little bit more volatile than it was before. It's also climate change. It's also just lack of opportunity and economic strains that are happening throughout the world. And so I don't think there is anything to mitigate the hate and the xenophobia that people are experiencing. What I have found as I look back in the history of like migration and how countries have accepted or not accepted is that it eventually disappears for different groups, and it's layered, right? And so you'll have the immigrants of the past telling the immigrants of now not to come. Or they don't want them in their country because they've now adopted that country. And then you'll have the immigrants of now tell the immigrants of tomorrow that they are not welcome. That's just the history of the world. And again, it sounds silly, but I find comfort in that because it is not a place we're going to be stuck in. We're going to find new immigrants tomorrow.
So is your
to tell.
hope that one day that your daughter and your children will pull the ladder up like other people that came before them?
Not in
Pull
that
the ladder
way.
up and push them down. It is the American way. Like, is this the hope?
No, my hope is that it eventually breaks.
Got it.
Right? It eventually just becomes like, we've done this to everybody. Nobody deserves this. Let's just move on and recognize that people do move around. But I will end with saying that, in many cases, new people in your country offer new opportunities. whether it is a new restaurant, a food that you have not eaten before,
Sure.
a language that you didn't even know that existed, that now you know cuss words for.
Sure.
There is an enrichment that is possible if you are willing to look at that.
You once said that you wanted to, quote, restore moral clarity and courage to Congress. Why did you fail?
Still working on it. I'm still there.
We've had many Democratic operatives on this show, and they have done a version of, I call it word salad haikus, that if I say a collection of these Sudoku words, somehow I will be able to turn voters onto my side and get them to vote for me. Yeah. What do you mean by moral clarity being the driver of why you got into politics?
Yeah. I mean, in many ways, when people are thinking about policy making, they do not think of what would I like to see, right? Like what sits well in my heart, like what is morally right and morally objectable.
Sure.
What they will do is, I'll vote my district. I'll vote with, the leadership. I'll vote with whatever groups are sending.
Right.
And for me, I think what is important and why you get elected is that you have presented a set of values that explain where your morality is.
Yes.
And yes, it's assumed that you're courageous because you're running to put your ideas out there and to defend them.
Yes.
And so keeping that with you, right? Like that moral clarity, the principles in which you ran on, is something that needs to be restored in Congress. People used to duel because they had extreme convictions.
It was crazy. People
were
willing to duel and die.
Yes, what was important to them.
Yeah.
And you have people now they're taking a vote on some resolution or some bill and they're crying because they don't want to take that vote. And to me it's why?
Yeah.
Right? Just do the right thing.
I mean, well, it is politics, Congresswoman.
Yes,
that's the problem.
But politics doesn't have to be a game. Politics doesn't have to be a zero-sum game,
But
right?
can you have pepperoni pizza moral clarity when it comes to politics? So for those that are watching that aren't Muslim, you can have cousins that are agnostic, atheist. If you grew up in a Muslim household, you have pepperoni pizza clarity that will not eat pork.
No.
Like if I go to a birthday party and they're like, this is pepperoni pizza.
Yeah.
And I'll go, I cannot eat it.
Yeah.
They go, well, we'll take the pepperoni
No.
off. I go, it still has pepperoni grease.
Yes.
I have pepperoni pizza
Yes.
moral clarity on this issue.
Yes. That's a good way to say it.
Can that be applied to politics, which is essentially a quid pro quo game?
It can.
Really?
It can because that is integrity and people do appreciate integrity. I have taken votes that have gotten me death threats. I have taken votes where I go home and my family's like, was this necessary? I've taken votes where, half of my constituency is upset. But at the end of the day, I was clear on why I took that vote because it was a value alignment, right? I am not upset. I am not sad. I am not conflicted. I am clear on what that vote was about and what it would mean to my constituency and to this country that I serve. And that is all I'm hoping for. And I would say on some issues, we've brought people along to have that clarity and make the right judgment call.
One of the issues that you have had very vocal moral clarity on is Gaza. Mm-hmm. And there seems to maybe, and I italicized this on my question card, maybe a tiny shift in your party's stance on Gaza. Bernie Sanders finally said the G word. So did House Minority Whip Catherine Clark. 7 Senate Democrats introduced a resolution to recognize a Palestinian state. Do you think the party is shifting closer to your position on Gaza?
Yeah, I mean, we were being ostracized for even using Palestinian or, like talking about Palestine. Talking about the occupation, people would get really upset. I remember when the report on apartheid came out, and we read it into the House record. People were upset and they called us anti-Semites and all kinds of names just for reading this like amnesty report
Right.
into the congressional record. And so to find ourselves in a place where you have, a couple of dozen Democratic senators voting to stop sending weapons to Israel, where you have, the block the bombs legislation that I think has about 60 or more now members of Congress, to have been called repugnant for introducing a ceasefire resolution, to now everybody not just calling for a ceasefire, but also using the genocide description for what Israel is carrying out in Gaza. Like, I would say the dam kind of starting to break, because there were a few of us who had that clarity on saying, yeah, I'm not going to be afraid of AIPAC. I'm going to speak my mind because this is the right thing to do.
I wanted to share a quote from
Okay.
your book. And you say, my strength doesn't come from a lack of fear, but from an overpowering sense of moral outrage. Now, I think a lot of people feel moral outrage. They just feel overwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
They're like, this is too much.
Yeah.
I got to watch Great British Bake Off. This is too much. I can't handle this. There's too much shit on fire.
Yeah.
Let me just watch Love Island.
Yeah.
Can I tell you how many people watch Love Island because they've just had enough?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
But
certainly...
you seem to be powered by it.
Yeah. More power to those people. And I certainly have, my days where I go home and I just put on a Bollywood movie and like, that's how I
Let's
make
go.
things disappear. But I think too many people, and I'm only talking mostly about like members of Congress, people who are, or elected officials, people
Sure.
who are in positions of power.
Yeah.
I think the outrage comes oftentimes when they see people like doing a rally or they'll go to a rally and speak. And I'm for me, it's like carry that energy, right? Like use that energy to give you the bravery to take the tough votes. Use that energy to allow you to sign on to a letter that would make you feel uncomfortable. Use that, rage to empower you to take on an issue that you thought was too much or like politically volatile.
Things that are considered fringe issues.
Yes, because
you get
at the
empowered
end of the
to talk
day,
about 'em.
our days on earth are numbered. And it is already stressful to put your name on a piece of paper.
Have you been talking to my dad? My dad talks like this too. He does this all the time. He gets very...
Maybe it's a Muslim dad thing.
Yeah,
My
it's
dad
a
was that way
very
too.
like,
Yeah.
death is upon us. The angel of death is visiting us every day. And I'm like, good morning to you,
Yes,
Dad.
yes. It happens when it's supposed to happen. But I do believe that when you ask people to put their trust in you to represent them,
Yes.
you should take that seriously.
So recently, the Trump administration, they began bombing boats in the Caribbean. Again, sometimes I read stuff where I'm like, it sounds like an Onion article. Are these boats carrying drugs? Are they carrying Club Med booze cruisers? Who can say? But you introduced a war powers resolution in relation to this. What was it trying to achieve?
Well, one is that the president doesn't really have the power to just declare war.
I thought the president could declare war.
No, you need congressional approval to do so.
Okay.
And then the second problem with what he's doing is that drug cartels do not fit under the terrorism designation.
What do they fit under?
Drug lords,
Got it. Okay.
thugs,
Sure.
traffickers, like there's all kinds of other.
Got it.
But they cannot be designated as a foreign terrorist organization.
Okay.
And so what we are trying to accomplish in this resolution is to claw back the powers, but also to say you need to have an explanation on the laws that you broke. and we need to hold you accountable. Because the other piece to the first boat that was struck is that we know that they were retreating. They were turned around and they were going back. And so there was no imminent threat that we were facing to even begin to justify. So
Yes.
none of the actions of the president is justifiable in any kind of way.
Can you give me,
Legally.
this is going to sound super reductive and simple, but
Okay.
let's have the U.S. government class.
Yeah.
What would be the correct order of operations if an enemy to the United States were to impose some sort of sea threat?
Yeah.
How should this have gone down? So Pirates of the Caribbean was happening,
Yeah.
allegedly.
Yeah.
Something was happening.
Right.
Drugs,
No, I mean,
pirates,
of course, if we
bad
were
things.
attacked, like think Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
Like we're attacked.
Yeah.
The president, yes. Imminent threat.
Okay.
President has the right to attack back. Now, as soon as you do that, the clock starts. And so you have to come to Congress to brief us and ask for permission to wage war.
And for funding, correct? Essentially.
Yes. But as the commander-in-chief, you have the right to defend us
Okay.
from an enemy.
Yes.
And certainly preemptive attacks to stop us from being attacked, and also after we are attacked, right? Like the Constitution doesn't tie the commander-in-chief's hand in defending our nation and its security. That's like their number one job. But if we are to commit our soldiers, our weaponry, our resources, Congress has that constitutional right to declare war.
You recently voted against the Defense Authorization Bill. Congresswoman, my question is, if you had your way, what would America do with that $882 billion?
Yeah, I mean, we're now spending nearly $1 trillion. We could use $22 billion of that money to end homelessness. We could use, $20 billion to feed children in our schools and get rid of, have free school breakfast and lunch.
Right. Now, I hear all this, but
Yeah.
those 750 military bases overseas aren't going to pay for themselves.
Yeah, but do we need them?
I don't know
But you think of like our
of military bases.
adversary, like China,
Okay.
has one military base outside of their territory, and that's in Djibouti, next to ours. And so if you think about not just the permanent military bases that we have, we also have temporary military bases, like pop-up ones. When we had one in Nigeria, in Niger, we have one in Somalia. We have all of these temporary, non-permanent military bases. And so in reality, we don't have to be the world's police, right? We can utilize some of these resources. And I tell people all the time, like, foreign policy is domestic policy, because all the money that we waste on going to foreign wars, on all of these military bases, protecting the interest of so many other countries, that money can be used to take care of Americans.
The president has said this, that he wants to be the no-war president.
Right.
Do you believe him?
I mean, just look at his record so far, right? The war in Gaza is still happening. We're still sending weapons to Israel to bomb and continue their genocide in Gaza. We're still sending weapons to Ukraine. That there hasn't been peace negotiated there. We are still droning countries like Somalia. So those are still things where we are actively working either in concert with a country or ourselves, inflicting pain.
I would say the American public, and I would certainly say young Americans, are particularly anti-war. I think the American public at large is done with the forever wars.
Right.
But is there anything that could cause Congress to unilaterally across the board be against or reduce military spending?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the co-chair of the Pentagon Reduction Caucus. We were constantly introducing legislation to amendments to the NDAA to cut it by 5% up to 20%. We've proposed, like I said, I've done many amendments to close down many bases that we don't need and objectively are not really serving us in any kind of way. I think if you were to take a poll right now, majority of Americans, not just young people, young, old, in between, everybody is on board in making sure that the Pentagon is even slashed half. This is also like one entity that has failed 7 audits. They've gone after the Department of Education. And it hadn't failed a single audit. So imagine if they were actually interested in waste, fraud, and abuse, they would have started with the Pentagon. I think it is the weapons industry that is heavily lobbying Congress to keep this war machine going because it is to their benefit that we continue to spend this much money on defense.
Is there any way, for me as an American, is there any way to reframe American might and glory that doesn't have to be associated with militarism? Is there a way that American might can be articulated through innovation, technology, engineering, things that are a net benefit not only to the country at large, but humanity at large? I mean, when I think of my dad's image of America when he immigrated in 1982, that certainly was his framework of what makes America so mighty.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley, California, engineering, chemistry, physics, and innovation.
Yeah. I mean, I do believe all of those things.
Or are those subjects just too hard?
Yeah, but
in
all those
America?
things are already things that make us mighty, right? And I do think our military might is not comparable to any other country's military might. The question is it about the arsenal that we have? Is it about our men and women that are ready for combat? Or is it about all of these military bases that are really not being utilized in any kind of way in active war at the moment, that are taking so many moms and dads away from their families as they serve in these military bases? You have so many people who enlist, who are leaving their children, their family members, and are going abroad with no real mission. And so there is a way for us to consolidate. There is a way for us to keep our readiness level, to keep advancing the level of arsenal we need in case we have, God forbid, World War III or whatever. But I don't think the amount of money that we are spending is necessary for us to have the level of readiness that we need. It's all based on, I've had this conversation with both the military and colleagues about the reason that, this Pentagon budget keeps going up. Many of our military leaders, when we visit with them, are like, we didn't ask for this increase. Right? We don't need the manufacturing of these types of weapons because today's war or future wars are going to require something else. So we shouldn't be producing like this kind of thing or whatever that might be. And the fact that they're not like listened to, and the Secretary of Defense, give it be a Democrat, Republican, whatever they've been in whatever administration, always asks for more. And then the White House asks for more than what even the secretary asked for. And that is where the problem is.
Is there a reasoning?
The reason is the lobbyist.
Oh, okay.
It's the lobbyists that talk about the job creation because the weapons are being produced in the United States, but they also talk about the money that comes in from us selling them. And oftentimes the cost-benefit analysis isn't really there for the American people. But we haven't made it an election issue. It needs to be an election issue. People should be asking their member of Congress when they're running for office, can I get a commitment from you that you're not going to vote for the NDAA if it has these kind of things or if the budget is above a certain
What is the NDA?
threshold? The NDAA is the bill that funds the Pentagon.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
I thought that was what Drake made girls sign when they hang out.
It's the national defense.
Oh, got it. One of the things you talk about in your memoir that I think is pretty interesting, but I want to follow up on. You talk about your time in a refugee camp in Kenya, and you say that you would literally have to cross barbed wire to watch television. And you have scars to prove it.
Yeah.
I just want to ask, what were the shows that you were willing to bleed for? Do you literally have scars where you're like, family matters?
It's on my leg trying to jump over the barbed
Really?
wire. Yeah. And
What show was it for?
It was
Home Improvement.
no, it was the Bollywood movie Dil.
That's a great movie.
Yeah.
And that is so Bollywood of you to like be bleeding for it.
Yeah.
Very intense.
Very intense.
Do you have a favorite Bollywood movie?
Yes, my favorite. I mean, you're too young to know.
I will know. I'll know.
But it's called Mere Pyar Kya Hai.
Oh, Mere
That was
Pyar
the
Kya
first
Hai.
movie I watched.
Really?
And to this day, if I am feeling down or just too much is happening
Sure.
and I just like need to be back to being like 4 or 5,
Yeah.
like I play that. And
Really?
it's all giggles because it's just like me and my siblings all just like
Got
watching
it.
it together.
So are you a Shah Rukh person or Amir Khan? Like, do you have a preference?
It's Salman. I love all of
Salman.
them. Saif Ali Khan, like
Saif
all
Ali Khan,
of
of
them.
course.
Yeah.
Shout out to Saif.
Yeah. I just grew up on watching Bollywood movies. So I kinda
are Bollywood movies big with some like Somali culture in general, or just you grew up watching?
You know,
it?
I think outside of India, probably like outside of maybe Asia, Africa might be the biggest market
Oh,
for
okay.
Bollywood movies.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we grew up like watching. I mean, and again, like I still like watch
No. Same. Still
Bollywood
to this
movies.
day.
Yeah. What's your favorite?
I mean, what are we talking? We have our classics. We have
Yeah.
Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge. We have
Okay.
Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum.
Okay.
Of course.
Kabhi Kush Karega. I cannot believe you. Okay.
Yeah, of
All right,
course.
okay.
You know, we also
Do you know the
have-
movie Silsila?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah, I like that one too. When I
Yeah.
was a kid, yeah.
You can go into deep cuts that my dad's into, Sholay, obviously.
So I was telling an auntie the other day that I love Devdas,
Mm-hmm.
and then she's like, the old one or the new one?
yeah.
And I think
and it's crazy that the newer one was in the 90s. That's crazy.
I
that, like,
gave the
newer
wrong answer because I watched both, and I like the newer one more
one. Okay.
because I think it has Shah Rukh Khan.
Yeah,
in it.
Shah Rukh Khan's in it.
And
Yeah.
she was really upset. I got schooled.
Really?
Yeah.
Nah, the new one
Yeah,
goes
she
so
was like-
hard. Soundtrack
That's what
goes
I
hard.
thought. I was like, it's not even. But again, I didn't want to get yelled at more.
Was Shah Rukh your first crush, out of curiosity?
No,
Okay.
no.
So for my wife, she's Indian. Her first crush was Casper when he became a boy. I don't know if you remember the 1995 hit film Casper. Now, Divan Sawa gets revealed as the boy, and then we reveal on them dancing together,
Yeah.
and they're floating,
Okay.
and that's not terrifying at all. And that was an awakening moment for my wife.
Okay.
For my sister, it was definitely SRK
Okay.
in
What about you?
Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. For me,
Oh, Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. Oh.
yeah, that was an awakening moment for my
Kajal's like
sister.
the-
Kajol's fire, yeah.
yeah.
So Kajol
And
for me,
Rani does, like,
yeah.
an
Rani goes
excellent
hard in that too.
job.
But for me, it was Kajol's unibrow.
Okay, that was
Like-
What do you remember the movie you watched her first in?
Kuch Kuch Hota Hai.
Oh, you were that young.
I was that young. I
Okay,
was about
wow.
11, 10, 11. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I
And
was
I was
wrong.
like, damn. Because what really Kajol
Actually,
had
I
in that.
did catch Kuch Kuch Hota Hai in a movie theater.
Oh my God.
It was the first one I went to go see in this movie theater, and like you know when you watch it at home, you
Sure.
don't really notice the break.
Yes, the intermission.
And I didn't realize
Yes.
that like in big, because I mean I would watch it in like, you know, these little shacks
Sure.
that I, you know, when we
Sure.
were in the refugee camp and stuff. But I didn't realize that there was like a whole thing. Like people would go to the bathroom and
Yeah.
there was like sambusas being sold.
Totally.
And it was just like, it was something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, so for
An
me,
experience, yeah.
what I loved about it is just, you know, that's very different than Western movies and American movies that do have it, but hardcore yearning. Will they, won't they?
Yeah.
Vibes.
I mean, and the music and the
music.
dancing. Yeah.
But what's carrying me through all of it
Yeah.
is will they, won't they?
Yeah.
You know, you think
And the family dynamics and the
family dynamics
sacrifice.
too, the sacrifice.
Yeah.
You know, will you die for me?
Yeah.
Will you die for me?
Yeah.
Are you all in or
will you
not?
choose your family
Yeah.
above love, right? Like,
Yeah. Or will you get on the train with me
yeah.
right now?
Yeah.
And there's just something about that. Congresswoman, this was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All